We don't have anybody, 2, 4, 6. Angie.
She's
So.
she's online, I believe.
Is
Didn't
Angie online?
No, didn't I hear somebody?
I don't
didn't we
see
hear
her.
Somebody coming in?
Oh, wait a minute. There's some other,
Kelly, I think. Kelly.
Oh.
Came.
Kaylee, Caitlin and
Okay.
Greg.
All right, great.
Oh,
Let's
there's
get
the-
going. And, this is
conference.
gonna be, March
He's calling
18th, 2025, we're gonna do a workshop tonight. Lake City Council, we are down in the mill, and this is being, recorded later to be published on a YouTube channel. So with that, I'm gonna call the meeting to order and hand the agenda off to Council President Randy. Oh, your mic on.
Okay. So then first up, roll right into the city department report, the police 2024 annual report. Turn it over to Chief.
Thanks, Council President. I'm going to share my screen here on Zoom so we have it. Oops. Of course, now it's going to make. Go. Is that a city? Is that a city or yours? There we go. It's kind of catching up with us here. In the staff report, I responded to Councilmember Shipman's question about our graffiti incidents. Last year, we had 8 total malmish complaints, which are considered sometimes graffiti, but it deals with other things. So some of that is not easy for us to track as graffiti because it goes under a malmish call. This year we've had 8. Last year we had 11. So it has actually decreased for the amount of malicious cases. And then I don't know if you saw our post on last Friday night, we had a couple of individuals tagging the back of Safeway. Our officers responded, got into a foot chase. The gentleman went into a local restaurant, was tackled by some people inside the restaurant. Our officers then ended up taking him into custody. Unfortunately, he was injured and had to be transported to the hospital. He's doing better and returned to work today. So we got 2 out of the 3. And they're tied into some people out of Everett and Linwood. One of them just recently moved into town. So that just gives you kind of what's been going on. Hopefully you haven't seen any more graffiti. We haven't noticed it. Thank goodness for our code enforcement officer. He actually went out and marked it all, tracked it all, worked with the businesses. So we got a lot of it cleaned up. The only one that's pending right now is the one on 7-Eleven. And he's been working with it along with our patrol staff. So
There's some behind Planet Fitness.
what's that?
Planet Fitness. There's
Okay.
some behind there.
There's some.
Is that the same graffiti that was over by
It's-
my office? over
Yes.
By the barber shop?
Yes, barber shop, the transit center, behind Planet Fitness, grocery outlet, Safeway. It was all in the Frontier Village, Frontier Heights area that these kids were tagging.
Are those kids going to pay restitution to have?
I
those
don't know.
things?
It's up to the prosecutor now. We referred charges on 2 of them.
And what city,
Say again?
nothing, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. What's restitution?
I was just wondering what state you were living in.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no further questions on the graffiti, I'll get started on our annual report. I really appreciate last week and given the opportunity to recognize some well-deserved awards to my staff and being able to take the time to recognize them. This week, we were talking about our annual report, which is the stats from 2024. As we get into this, the first thing I will point out is our staffing. As you all know, we have been short on staff. We started off the year with 6 vacancies. We had 3 more separate during the year. But with the great practices of recruiting and hiring and our field training officers, we've gotten all the way up to staff except for 2 vacancies that we have currently open. We have the traffic position open and a detective position open. All of the patrol positions are filled, but unfortunately we only have 12 of them that are deployable out of 24. So that's where we're sitting at right now. We do have a lateral that's in background and we have an entry level interview this week. So hopefully we can start filling some of those positions. And we have 2 more that are in the budget for June. So hopefully we'll have the 4 vacancies and be able to get them all filled. Our mission statement is we serve the Lake Stevens community by enhancing public safety and the quality of life through professional police services, organizational excellence, and community interaction. And we'll break down those professional police services, organizational excellence, and community interaction as we go through this. Our 2025 goals, which are tied into our department strategic plan, the number 1 is identify and implement crime suppression and reduction strategy to address crime trends and community concerns. The second one was traffic safety. and then our hiring practices and our technology practices and the education and awareness of crime trends and prevention strategies. You'll see out through this annual report how we reached some of those goals this last year. There's our current staffing as of the end of last year. So we got down to just having one vacancy. That's a lot of recruiting. We had 11 people that we had to get hired, trained, and processed. And you'll see on the right-hand side, we're allocated for 37 positions. We have 36 filled and 10 non-commissioned positions with 10 filled. But you can see the average citizens, officer per citizen. There is legislation currently in the process to hopefully get some funding to hire officers and get to the national level, which is interesting because it's at 2.49. The state average is 1.33, and currently we sit at 0.90 per thousand. So we are down with our staffing on that. At the top of that, you'll see, but 5,343 training hours. And I'll go back to what I sent out to you here last week with the administrative reviews, the OPS report. Last year, we only had 2 complaints and 0 administrative reviews. The year before that, we had over 13 to 15 is what we averaged per year. Just because of the body worn cameras and the training of our staff and becoming a professional agency, we have reduced our complaints dramatically, which saves us time, and also it gives a good service to the community. Our operations.
Hey, Chief, real
Yep,
quick.
go ahead.
If you go back, so what is the number to get us to 133? Is that, I can't do my public school math real quick.
It's a little bit over about 60.
50% what it is now, 50% more.
50 to get to the
0.33.
state average,
No. To get to the state average, we need to be 50% more than what we have right now.
we need
36 patrol officers.
54.
We have 36 current patrol. We need
So that'd be
41, roughly 54,
54 to get to the state average.
just to the state average. And we're at 37.
How many officers would the state need to hire to get to the national average?
Several thousand.
So
We're 51 out of 50 states.
my understanding of legislation, though, they will allow cities and counties to impose a sales tax that would then fund those positions. Is that's my
That's right now
understanding of
up in
legislation.
debate because they have legislation going in there, and there's a bill, it's 2015 and it keeps changing, which could change by the end of the year. They actually don't need the legislation to put it into the budget, but they're trying to pass legislation to help with that. And there's different ways to do that. Like you say, put a sales tax and have the county and the cities do the sales tax before they get access to the grant funding through CJTC.
Yeah, that's what I read in the bill when I read the most recent reading. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the amendments.
Chief, do you happen to have, and I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
That's okay.
Any sense of how we rank per thousand citizens for incidents of crime? Because when I look at this, my first thought is, wow, that looks really scary. We don't have enough police. But then I look around at our community and I generally feel pretty safe, and you guys are doing a great job. So I'm just curious, maybe do we, because of our citizens and our community, do we need as many police officers per thousand?
To get to the stuff that you would like us to handle with all the parking complaints and all that kind of stuff, to do a better job with investigations and stuff, yes, we would need more officers. Right now, we're doing the bare minimum. We're not doing much traffic because we just don't have that staff to be able to be proactive.
Okay.
Yeah, so where we're gonna have a delta is traffic and like detective investigations.
Yep.
Okay.
More in depth, a lot more cases we can take
And-
on.
The calls are gonna get caught up sooner or later during the day, but your faults are gonna be, do you have enough property crimes guys to do property crimes
Yeah.
work, right?
No, that makes sense. I just, like I said, I look around, I try and reconcile being 50% behind, and it's like, it
Yeah.
seems like we're doing a great job.
We are doing a great job, and they're running from call to call to call.
Okay.
I mean, you got to give their hats off to the officers. They're busy. They're running from call to call to call.
Got it. Thank you.
Some of these calls are not something you really want to deal with on a daily basis. So right here, like you say, Council President, is we are 911 calls are at 56%. Officer initiated calls are 44%. Those are community interaction, traffic stops and all that. You can see we made 5,431 traffic stops last year, which is huge, especially with the staffs we have. Trying to reduce it. Our our incidents that went up about 3% from 2023 to 2024. So you can see the average right now, we're sitting around between 22 and 23,000 call or incidences per year. You can see the breakdown on the left-hand side, the 911, the follow-ups, the suspicious, that's the biggest one. People calling in suspicious, which is great because our community is invested being the eyes for us. When they see something, they call and make sure that we go check it out. So that's great work by our community and the relationship that we have. These are the incidences that breaking down calls for service, the cases out of 23,000 roughly incidences. We took in 2,329 case reports and we made 987 arrests. Like the mayor says, we could do a lot more investigations if we had the staff to invest in the time. You can see we are keeping our community safe. The crimes against people, they went down 26% from 2023. Crimes against society is down 20% in 2023 and down 16% for crimes against property. So we're doing the right thing. We're reducing crime against people, society, and property, which is a huge success.
We were the 5th safest city in Washington State and the 67th safest city in the country in 2023, and our numbers have gone down.
Yep.
So that's encouraging. So we don't know what's happened elsewhere because with the change in general, I don't know, say crime is now becoming more illegal. And so that's, I think, we're seeing the evidence of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have something to report on is our collision rate. Our collision rate has gone up dramatically, and you can all suspect why that collision rate has gone up is the corridor of 204 and Highway 9. We're seeing a lot of people still trying to navigate the roundabouts and those kinds of things. So we hopefully, like I say, start focusing on being able to fill the positions, get the traffic unit up and running. But what is solid is last year we recovered 7 stolen firearms, but we had 184 DUI incidences. We had the initiative from our staff, and we also got a detective that's really involved in the DRE program, which is drug recognition expert, and she's been putting on a lot of training. We just did our in-service training, gave our staff even more DUI training, and every day we're arresting 1 to 2 DUIs a night. And you could say that's about 6 hours worth of work to arrest 1 DUI right now with the body worn cameras, the search warrants we have to do, processing the drunk, getting them booked into the jail. It does take a lot of time. So out of 184 DUI incidences, that's amazing work.
So question I have is just overall, and this is what percentage of these people, these crimes and everything else you're doing are Lake Stevens residents, Lake Stevens address versus guess?
I couldn't tell you.
Is there any way to quantify that?
It's a lot of work having somebody to go in and try to find out the addresses and stuff. It would take us looking at the databases and being able to try to find it.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
wonder if there's some AI that could help us with that.
I wish I had a crime analyst.
Hey, Chief, can you explain to the council the issues with DUI, charging DUI, toxicology labs?
Yeah.
And how just the kind of the 2-year backlog?
Yeah, we currently have about a 2-year backlog for blood. So the blood is taken, it's sent down to the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab and gets processed. There's such a backlog on that, and the legislation's been working on it, trying to come up with ideas like they did with the sexual assault rape cases. Our kits, they had that and got that pretty much fixed, but now it's the blood. The State Patrol is looking at funding to getting more people to analyze the blood and get it back, but it does take about, on the average, 600 days to get that back. So when we charge somebody, we take somebody, we process them for DUI, we have to wait to get the blood back most of the time to send it to the prosecutor because they need that as evidence. So they'll dismiss the charges without prejudice, waiting for that evidence to come back. They'll get the blood results to go back and charge. So somebody could maybe 2 years before they get charged.
So think of that, right? Like you have this truly problem issue of DUI on your streets. That person's going to get arrested. They may not even actually see a judge for 2 years, right? In the meantime, they're still driving. They get another one, 2 years for that one. They get another one, 2 years for that one. So, and then maybe in between, they're like, oh, maybe I should stop DUI drinking. They get healthy, and then they start getting hit with all these charges, right? It's like, it's so backwards how the process is right now. And there's the reason why there's so many DUIs is it's the same DUI we arrest yesterday. They're driving out the next day because there's no ramifications of the system. broken. And a legislator tried to, or introduced legislation this year that would allow, say, a family member to get a court order. Hey, this person's, my loved one or whatever has been driving drunk. We want to put a court order to protect them to do a blow on their an
Blow and
ignition
go.
on their car. Legislature wouldn't do it.
It's like a red flag for DUI.
Yep. And which is sad because you have taxi cabs, you have Uber, Lyft, all those companies that you can call to get a ride, and people still make the choice to get behind them, the
Yep.
wheel of a motor vehicle, and drive down the road.
So we have-
And we unfortunately had 2 fatals last year in our city.
Yep.
So we'll continue on to some better things here. As you can see, we have a very good relationship with the number one business in our community, and that's the Lake Stevens School District. We have 2 resource officers assigned to the school. There was some legislation asking for police departments or law enforcement and first responders to work with the school to get communications during an emergency, key access during an emergency, ways to be able to handle the emergency and have updated security. And we had all that in place already before the legislation. We would have been right on cue to when that legislation got implemented to be able to do that. We do have a system where if we have an incident at the school, we get an activation. We're able to communicate back and forth. Like we'll get a threat at the school or somebody that may be having a gun. We had one that we solved in 45 minutes because of the communication we have with the school district and be able to get that stuff solved, knowing who the person is, where the threat came in, and being able to follow up with the family and those kinds of things. So we work hard with our school district to be able to do that. And then I pushed out last night, one of our SROs is now coaching the CAV baseball team. So my son is actually the assistant coach for him. So it's kind of cool to see. So our community service officers, we know how we've been trying to fix that and get one additional one. Unfortunately, the last applicant didn't make it through background, so we're going to go back out and advertise and hopefully get the second position. Our CSO was only filled for 6 months this year because the current CSO went to a different job and then came back. As you can see, parking complaints are the number one. They handled 143 parking complaints just in 6 months. That was one person and 54 abandoned vehicles that were left that she had to take care of. Then you can see the animal cruelty cases and the other stuff that she does with car seats and stuff. And then we'll be adding the park ranger duties on top of that too. So there's some great work in 6 months by our CSO. She's very dedicated and working hard for us as she's now back in service. K9 Sia, right now she's out of service. She has an injury, but you can see the work in 2024 she did. We had a great partnership with the Tulalip Tribe Police Department, and we had where they responded several times to assist them and other agencies. He was deployed 36 times, resulting in over 180,000 worth of narcotics removed from the streets. We took 16 vehicles on search warrants, and we arrested 26 suspects for drug violations. Marine unit, as you guys see out here in the summer, we deploy the Marine unit with 2 vessels. We leave 1 vessel in around the year just in case we have an emergency. They're doing great work. We're updating that now. We're trying to get a Marine officer in each squad. So if we do have an incident, we have somebody that can drive the boat from point A to point B and get out there and handle it. This is a big thing we've started to recognize as you talk about seizing evidence. We brought in over 2,021 pieces of evidence in 2024, which was a 35% increase. That is one person processing all that evidence. That is a huge increase, and we're going to keep an eye on that as we start getting more staff. It's going to increase the amount of evidence and stuff that we have to take care of, and that's a lot of work. But we had safekeeping of 214 firearms, which is keeping our community safe. Investigations unit, here we go. These folks are doing some great work. They've established regional partnerships with ICAC, which is the Crimes Against Children. They've been working with doing community outreach on that, working with Dawson's Place. They provided a couple great classes here in the community. We have another one scheduled in April and another one coming up that Kristen's going to go do. You can see here, they in 2024, reviewed 229 cases, which was impressive, 87% increase since 2023. So and they managed the 2 fatal collisions during that year. So that's a huge increase of how many other cases we were able to get. We are up to all the vacancies filled except for one. So we have a new sergeant in there that's been great, Sergeant Hingen. He's really been doing a great job with the detectives that we have in there, and they're rocking it. As you can see, the biggest cases we get in, unfortunately, in our investigations unit is sex offenses. Those have really increased in the last few years. Then you can see the assaults, the child abuse cases, and the ICAC cases that we help with a regional partnership on that. We actually went out and did a sting operation recently and made some arrests. So here's our records unit. As you all know, body worn cameras and what happens with digital media. You can see the number of requests. They keep going up every year for public disclosure. We had an 18% increase from 23 to 24, with the time spent almost 3 times as much to process those requests coming in, and saw an increase in 110% of their time. We have 72,000, a little over 72,000 pieces of digital evidence that they have to manage by the records unit since the body worn camera, which includes photos, audio recordings, that kind of stuff. Since the program began in 2022, we've seen a 464% increase in digital media request. That's huge, and we have to continue to keep an eye on that. Administrative division, they continue to do, besides the body worn cameras, concealed weapons permit issues. That's kind of gone down over the year. The state patrol has taken over the gun purchases and the transfers, but we still give out concealed weapon permits, which take time to process. We have a website, we have a database that they start that whole process. Now we've automated it, so it's taken some time away that we don't have to do on the back end, but they still have to process those and get those issued. In 2024, the municipal court of Marysville got a hold of us along with the Marysville Police Department. So we have a contract with Marysville District Court to handle our criminal cases. Well, they used to put the warrants out. They would send it over to Marysville PD. Marysville PD would enter the warrants. Well, they decided not to do that anymore and transferred that work over to us. So my staff had to come up with a process, a workflow, worked with the Marysville Police Department. They did an outstanding job of getting that workflow fixed with the courts and the PD and the jails. And now they entered 294 warrants this year, along with 522 protection orders. So those orders get from Superior Court, they get entered, then they have to be served. And that's the work that goes behind the scenes that nobody sees out here. That's the continued work we still have to do. The patrol officers have to serve those. So that's a lot of work on the back end. Some of the great accomplishments that we have this year for professional police services is 2 of our officers were recognized for a house fire last year, apartment fire up here on the north end, where they had people jumping out of the 2nd and 3rd stories of the apartment building, that they were able to help save every life in that apartment building when the fire happened. Those people were recognized by Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue, who are great partners with us. As you can see, we started our foundation this last year with North Sound Police Foundation, which is a 501c3. Donations can be made by the community to go directly to the general fund, or an option to earmark contributions to different programs, drone program, Explorer program, those kinds of things. So we're excited to have that as with right now with Lake Forest Park, Mill Creek PD, and now Medina PD and Issaquah PD are asking to join our foundation too. So our chair that we got on as a representative, community representative, is Brian McManus, who's on our Civil Service Commission, but he's doing an outstanding job with the foundation and is really bringing in a good revival to that foundation. So we're excited to that. The mayor asked me to start hosting some trainings at our training center. Last year, we brought in what's called FBI LEADA. It is a supervisor series. It's the Supervisor Leadership Institute, the Command Leader Institute, and Executive Leadership Institute. If you get all 3 of those trainings, you get what's called the FBI Trilogy Award. And we had 3 of our current sergeants earn that award. All of our command staff has earned it. And now we have all of our sergeants that have earned that award. That is great work. And it's showing with the stats that I gave to you in that OPS review of our complaints going down, supervisors doing the work that they need to do as supervisors and as leaders, as future leaders of this department. They're doing some great work. We also send our record supervisor, who's going through that series right now. She got promoted last year. So it's a great training that's been put on nationwide, and it's being recognized as one of the top leadership trainings. We did receive an $88,000 grant last year to enhance staff wellness. We bought a massage chair that goes in downstairs, and it's actually being used almost every day. It's interesting when staff start working on cases, they start looking at body worn camera, they need to take a break. they go down and use the massage chair, and I have not heard the laughters and people just that talk and everything. It's just like the whole new excitement in the PD because they're feeling relaxed after just seeing what they just saw and being able to just relax for like 20 minutes. And that really, really helps. And I thought, well, what is this going to do and how, you know, with the cost of it, and it has actually saved us a lot of wellness and a lot of sick time. I'm truly believe in that because I see the laughter and staff really being invested in that and using that as a tool to help themselves. We also had a crimes against children internet, like I said, a residential search warrant collaboration with the Washington ICAC, and they extraditing a child predator. We're actually headed down to Houston next week or this weekend to bring him home. We actually found him down in Houston. So great recovery on that one and being able to hold that person accountable. Community interaction. We're involved in a lot of things. We had a woman in police service career fair out in Monroe. You can see our ratio of female officers to male officers. We're leading the way. There's a 30-30 initiative by IACP, which is the International Association of Chief Police, that challenges departments, and we're doing a great job with that. We have some outstanding people. We have one graduating tomorrow that I don't know if you saw the CJTC advertisement for the women's for the month, and she was in that advertisement. It was really cool to see. Amanda's a great person. She's got a great heart, and you'll get to see her next Tuesday when we swear her in here. Polar plunge, we had talked about that last year, was 18,073 participants. This year we just hit over 25,000 and over 100 participants. Officer Carter conducted active shooter training with city departments. They held Pops with Cops in the North Cove, where they brought ice cream in, and we just met with the community here in the parks. We have the water safety camp that Surfer does with us with kids. Officer Charus does the lead that she got recognized last week with the award ceremony, the great program that they do to help people get to doctor's appointments, driver's licenses back. They work with the court, making sure that the pre-arrest diversion can happen if we need to. Instead of putting somebody through the criminal justice program, we can work on helping getting the help that they need. You saw the Protect Your Child workshop that we put on. King 5 came up and did an interview. Then we did the Citizens Academy. That has really taken off, and we're excited to do that every fall. We actually had a gal call me last week and wanted to say for about the last 9 months, her husband was really sick and she was going through crisis. She says, I want to say the compliment to your officers and to the fire department. Every time they showed up, they were professional. They listened. They provided me support. She unfortunately lost her husband in November from cancer, and then she went into crisis. She said every time the officer showed up, they cared, they helped her. She got the resources she need, and now she's doing a lot better. She's going to come in and tell her story at the Citizens Academy to the Citizens Academy first day. So it's really exciting to hear that from a community member.
And I think it'd be important if option exists for her to come to city council and share that publicly, so that others can hear, because we still have those in our community who have a different view on law enforcement.
Yep.
And I think it's important that we let the community know that the overwhelming majority of the people are doing the right thing for the right reason.
Yep.
And we need to unfortunately toot our own horn, because there's plenty of other people who are presenting a different image.
Yep, I will ask.
Thank you.
Chief, I'm just curious, what are the odds, and forgive me if I missed it, of getting a weekend version of that Citizens Academy? Because I saw that and I was actually interested, but unfortunately, I believe it fell during the week and I couldn't commit.
Unfortunately, it's kind of hard with our staffing levels. It's easier to do it on a Thursday night for us with the staff levels and stuff that we have.
Okay.
Yeah. We wish we could, but it's easier for our staff.
Yeah, that was a totally selfish question. I just wanted to.
It's always an option. We look at options, right? Again, we had Guns and Hoses. This is the first year we won in about 7 years. We won at 16-10, but we raised a lot of donations for the food bank. So that's really cool. And you can see we were part of the community center toy festival, the Harvest Festival, all that kind of stuff. You can see through here, we got WASPIC grant. You guys gave us to move past the WASPIC grant to hire the full-time records position. You see how important it is with the amount of that. So this was last year, the legislation came out and they changed the standards on canines for police. They added fentanyl to it. Before, fentanyl was not approved it was approved as an other, but it was not a certified drug. It was meth, cocaine, heroin. They did away with marijuana when marijuana became legal. But we were the first trained dog in Washington State for fentanyl. Sia was the first fentanyl dog. And it was a tough road because people are like, well, you can't do that. Yes, I can. I went to the DEA, I went to the federal prosecutor, state prosecutor, and state laws, everybody, city legal. They said, yes, you can do it. There's nothing to hold you back. And I made the choice because fentanyl is the #1 killer on our streets. And she's been doing an outstanding job. And I'm just excited to have Sia. Let's go down to mentoring program. We started investigations units. That's a good success. And then reaccreditation last year. That takes a lot of time and a lot of work. We got that accomplished. Plus, we got a $41,000 grant. With that money, I put red dots on all firearms, and our shooting scores went up 65%. Just with having and adding the red dots to it. That's exciting to hear. Our officers are becoming more stronger on their weapons, confident in their weapons, and more accuracy, which is huge. That's just.
I like the red dot too.
Yeah, it's great, especially when you can't see it, right? And SharePoint migration, you guys have heard about that from Troy. We were the first agency to do that. A lot of city departments are still working that, but Julie and Jessica took that on with Troy and his staff, and we're able to get ours as the first one. And we're still working through cleaning up a bunch of stuff, but it's great. It's been a great success for us. Again, this is all the personal recognition that we did last week with all the staff and all the awards. All the people that we hired on the left-hand side there, you'll see, or your right side, depending which TV, your right side over there. Those are all the new staff that we hired this last year. We had 3 record specialists, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 officers. We had an officer come out of retirement, came back to us, which is exciting. And then our CSO came back to us. So to hire all those people, get them all retrained, I want to say publicly, I'm very, very, very honored to have the field training officers that I do and the record staff trainers that I do, because it takes a lot of work. Besides doing the normal day-to-day operations, they have to train all this new staff to get them up to speed, and they've done a great job with that. So. And that's what we have. We are hiring. So if you know anybody that wants to come and work for us, we do have a $25,000 lateral bonus, and we're still getting laterals. Like I said, I just have one from Texas that I interviewed today. He's on his way up here by the end of the month. We're working through that process, and hopefully we could bring him on by end of next month or the 1st of May. He's very excited. He comes with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and training. So
Chief, what made him pick Lake Stevens? Just happened to have a position. What made him find Lake Stevens?
he was a Marine Corps.
Yeah, that's Marine Corps.
Yeah, he's from the United States military. He was in the Marine Corps, Air Force. That was his career. Then he got into law enforcement about 12 years ago. He was doing some research, and he says, Chief, you're the first one to reach out to me. Of all the agencies that I called, left voicemails for, called one agency, left 2 to 3 voicemails with them. Took him 2 to 3 months to get back to him. He says, Chief, you're the first ones to reach out to me. He says, I started doing my research. This guy is phenomenally a researcher. He wants to know everything. He could tell me everything about the lake, the city council, the annual reports. He does, and it's just his family was down there. He ended up in a recent divorce, decided he's moving back up here because he's got his girlfriend. She works for Everett in the medical field. She's down in college right now doing some training for medical field. They have a house in Everett, and he wants to come back to Washington because he likes bass fishing, hunting, skiing. So we have a lake. We have great bass. I told him the bass are in the lake. He says, I'll come.
I teed that one up for you.
Yeah.
I'm getting back to him.
You could have stopped at Marine right there and it's all.
Yeah. And his daughter is moving up here too. It's just, he says, my whole family wants to move up to Washington. We got to see the green. So.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm not impressed. Air Force and Marine Corps. What?
Could you, excuse me, could you give us a little update on the flock system?
Yes, so the flock system, we have one camera that we're still waiting for electrician to plug in down on 20th Street, but we've had some great success with that. We've recovered, I can't tell you how many stolen plates we've recovered, a couple of stolen vehicles. We also, the best story I have for you is an 88-year-old dementia patient. It came out, we went down to his house, we couldn't find him. We put in the license plate and the license plate readers in Arlington. It went through ours. We knew he was going northbound. And then he went into Arlington, got hit on the flock system, and we were able to bring him home in 4 hours.
Good. Good, good.
And that's with we have four.
We have 6 cameras, but only 5 are operational. We're waiting for one just to be plugged in. It just needs an electrician to plug it in. And so that other one will become operational.
We'll take care of that.
Right in front of Tom Thumbs on the PUD pole. Yeah, we're tracking the outcomes of it and stuff now. The Flock updated their system. So when we have an incident now, we can hit an outcome and it puts all the data in there so we can pull it faster. Right now we have to put it in the CAD system as a Flock. We have a lot of investigations, hit and runs. We were able to solve a couple hit and runs with it too. So it's really been valuable.
Second question, what does the foundation do?
The foundation does, it's a 501c3 where community members, they make donations to us right now. They can't write it off because it comes to the city. It's not a nonprofit. They do a lot of work. They come out to community events, raise money. They provide law enforcement money. Like they just did a drone program for Lake Forest Park. They did a K9 vehicle for Mill Creek. They're really invested and fortunately, Lake Forest Park, I don't know how he did it, but he has a business owner down there that just gave him $500,000 and this last year, and then $100,000 this year. So there's people that want to make donations, and Brian McManus, God bless him, he knows where grants are to be able to help us. So it can help us do events, build our Explorer program, help us with our drone program, those kinds of things, our emergency management program, those kind of things. So it brings funding in to help offset some of the cost.
Great, great. Thank you.
I just had a question about Sia. Was she injured on the job, and what's her prognosis? When will she be back?
Well, her handler is out for a little while on approved leave. And when she was at home playing catch with the ball, she cut her paw. And so now she's out and we had to take her to the vet for a follow-up because her paw started swelling up. So right now it's probably about 4 to 5 months before both of them get to come back to work. So she's a great dog. She's great when she comes in. She always knows where the treats are.
Paws take a long time to heal.
Yes. And that's what's so funny is we just don't know how the cut happened when she was out playing with the ball. She cut it on something. So she's very active. We have a great handler. He treats her very, very well and does great work. So
Cool, Chief. Anything else?
that's all I have. Thank you. I really appreciate your support.
All right, thank you. That moves us on to discussion items. 3A, it's update on stormwater education and outreach program with Shannon.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council President. So I just wanted to bring you an update. Earlier this year, I brought a contract with the Snohomish Conservation District to design and implement an education and outreach program for our stormwater and surface water division. As part of that discussion, we let you know that the whole contract with the Conservation District is paid for through grant funding. It's a state grant, a non-competitive grant that's issued to municipalities to essentially implement their permit. That's our phase 2 permit. And it just so happens that our grant is ending at the end of this month, and we anticipate getting the next round starting July 1st. We had a bulk of work that we were hoping to get done by the end of March, and that was to actually develop the plan. We started this by issuing a survey to the community to gain knowledge on what's the community's knowledge on general, what is stormwater, what do you find is the things that are contributing most to pollution of surface water and stormwater, and what kind of activities do you want to see? And that survey is really the driver of this program. We really want to do something that is impactful for the community and that the community wants to see and that answers their questions. And we put out an initial survey and we didn't get that many responses. So we've done a couple more boosting of our social media posts, and we actually did a mailer as well. And so we're starting to see a lot more responses. And because of that, our timeline has shifted. So what it means is that during this 3-month gap where we don't have grant funding, we want to use our stormwater funding for the contract with the Conservation District. It wouldn't require a budget amendment. It's already budgeted funding, probably $10,000 or less, and that's to finish the plan. We thought about postponing the work to start the plan up again in July, but we actually have an internal deadline set by Ecology for our permit to have this plan done by July 1st. So we just wanted to bring it to you as a matter of transparency when I brought this in January and I told you it's 100% grant funded, and here I am a couple months later telling you, well, maybe not all of it. So I want to take any questions or if you have any concerns over that, I'm happy to discuss it.
So the grant funding is not going to backfill this $10,000 expenditure?
No, there's a gap. So it's just a gap. This round closes out at the end of this month, and then the new round will start July 1st. And the work, it can only refund the work done within that funding cycle. And so it can't backdate. And I asked our grant coordinator that.
Is there a chance that we won't get the funding in July?
It's not likely. The biennium budget still needs to be adopted, but there's no reason why we wouldn't get it.
You said it was non-competitive?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to give a little feedback. I received the postcard
Oh,
that you're
good.
talking about. It was there. I didn't do the QR code, but I think I did the survey online. Didn't you have it online too?
Yeah, the postcard has like the
Has a
QR
QR
code.
code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can do it online. We have it through our social media as well. Yeah.
And I thought you did a good job explaining, what was it? Stormwater, wastewater, and drinking water, I think were the three on it.
Yeah.
And they were quick and easy, and whoever developed, I think you did a really good job.
Thank
It
you.
wasn't so wordy that you wouldn't read it, but it got across the information I think you were trying to share. So good job.
Thanks. Yeah, we didn't want to make it too long. We wanted people to do it. And I have some preliminary results if you're interested. Seems that the majority of people who took the survey answered the question right, what stormwater is. So that's good, just to understanding, because we wanted to understand like what's our basic knowledge in the community, because we need to know where we start with our program. If there's a large misconception on what stormwater is and what happens to stormwater, we need to start there at the baseline. The majority of people think that new developments are the primary source of pollution to stormwater and to surface water, followed by vehicles and then boats, actually. And some of their major concerns or things they have is just concerns around aquatic life and plants, residential development near streams and wetlands, and they want to see more education material and city representatives at booths in the park for more face-to-face questions and interaction. So we have some of that planned this summer. And in general, they get most of their information through social media or brochures. But we had about a 50% jump in number of people who took the survey since we sent the postcards out. So it seems pretty effective.
Are you going to do your We Love the Lake function again at Lending Park this summer?
So part of that survey is to try to reevaluate the I Love Lake campaign and what that I Love Lake campaign looks like. I know the school district also has the I Love Lake Stevens School District campaign, not to be confused. So we're going to do some other events, but part of this overall survey and building this plan is really to identify what does the community want to see, what is going to be impactful here, and how do we design a program that actually meets those needs. And so we're still finalizing that, but we do plan to be out in the community, whether it's during already planned events or more kind of on a casual basis out in the parks when we have a lot of people out there to answer questions. We may not have an official day this year, but we'll reevaluate that.
So I'm confused.
Okay.
I think you said, maybe I just misheard you, which even with my hearing aids, it's possible.
No problem.
You said something about social media being one of the best resources for them to get their information. Is that correct?
So we had on our survey, we said a question that said, how do you prefer ways to learn? And, where do you get your information? And The responses were social media, brochures mailed to the residents, and then just online.
But then you said that you got your best response from the mailer.
Yes.
Okay.
That was, so we did, we had posted out to social media. We did the social media boosting, through Zen City does that. We had it out on our website. We had the Conservation District sharing it. And then we sent out the postcards, and we had a huge jump in responses after we sent out the postcards. It's actually consistent with, we spoke with some other jurisdictions too, who run similar programs and advertise the same way. And they also said that they get the majority of their responses through mailers. I don't actually check my mail ever, but.
Who are these people?
Anything else? Any other questions for Shannon? Yeah. So we have one more agenda item. So going once, going twice. Okay. That moves us on to discussion. Oh, thank you. That moves us on to discussion item 3B, which is the sidewalk repair presentation with Curtis.
Good evening, council. Curtis Clifton, Public Works Operations Manager. Let me share my screen real quick. All right, so I was asked to give you guys a brief presentation on how we handle in the operations side of things, the sidewalk issues that we have. So these are our main contributors to the calls that come in. Accessibility, root damage, and just general degradation of the sidewalk itself, whether it be the base or what have you. The accessibility part, a lot of people immediately think of the ADA ramps, but those aren't the only issues. You know, we have uneven sidewalks that can cause trip hazards. People with disabilities have a hard time navigating just getting out of their house and going down the block. And those are mainly the repairs that we do. Kim and her team handle the ADA side of things just because of the complexity of them. The methods for our repairs are mainly grinding, which we do in-house, as well as contracting out. We use our sidewalk suction device, which is affectionately known as the sidewalk sucker with the crew. And the more traditional method of demoing and repouring the panels. So what is a sidewalk suction device? My best description I can give you is it's a large vacuum at the end of the day. It has a motor on the top of it. It allows us to attach to the panels, remove the panel, and repair whatever the issues are at the time. If it's the base, then we add material, repack the base, and reset the panel that day. And people can go about their business. If it's roots, which is normally what we run into when we use this, is we cut them out of the way, try to minimize any damage or compromise the tree that's causing the damage. And the same process, recompact and reset the panel. And like I said, this is probably, I would say 80 to 90% of the work we do is using this device just because of the benefits, which are it's faster. It's much faster to remove the panel, cut the root out of the way, repack the base, replace the panel, and we're on to the next one. There's no wait time for concrete to cure or anything like that. So we don't have to keep the sidewalk closed and have a separate route for people to use if they do need an accommodation. Labor costs are reduced, less disruption, as I mentioned, safer for the surrounding infrastructure. We really don't have to dig down and remove anything. So we really don't have to call in locates, and it's environmentally friendly. We're not having to break up a bunch of concrete, send it off to hopefully get recycled or just dispose of it. We're able to reuse the actual panel. And then the more traditional method, which we do, but we try not to unless the panel itself, usually in settling issues, when the panel itself has just started to break and we can't reuse it, we will demo everything out and re-pour. But as I mentioned, we try not to do that just because of the cure time and the inconvenience that it causes to the citizens. And we re-pour obviously the ADA ramps when there are improvements with those. But as I mentioned, Kim and her team handle majority of those. So with that, in summary, the city, we are responsible for 137 miles of sidewalk. Since we've implemented our asset management team, we've been able to hit the target of roughly 50 work orders a year. And that's everything from repouring to using the sidewalk sucker or grinding. I forgot to mention, I'm sorry. The grinding is another method that we use, but we do contract that out, as I mentioned. But with the grinding, that just buys us time at the end of the day. It really doesn't address the main issue for whatever the inconveniences that we have with the sidewalk. So we have been able to hit the 50 work order target. We're going to try to exceed that this year. But the last couple of years, like I mentioned, we've been able to hit those targets. The methods we use, the repouring, the grinding, and the sidewalk sucker, which we did purchase in 2022. And since we purchased it, we've been able to replace roughly 2,000 linear feet of sidewalk with that. So it's been very beneficial.
By replace, you mean pick that up and repair 2,000 linear
Yes.
feet, not replace.
Yes, sorry, repairs. the
If you
sidewalk.
replaced it,
Not
you break that up and you put new concrete in. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you grind a panel, are you able to use a sidewalk sucker on it, or is that panel then not usable and eventually needs to be replaced because it's been, Had one in there.
We don't tend to do that. And like I said, it buys us time. So when we grind the sidewalks down, essentially all we're doing is creating a shim. So instead of an abrupt edge, you now have a you have a gradual slope. But like I said, at the end of the day, you're not really addressing what the issue is.
I'm sorry, my question was, if you do that to a panel, can you use the sucker to remove it, fix what's underneath and put it back? Or now is that panel no longer reusable because it has a portion of it grinded down?
No, we wouldn't reuse it when we.
Yeah,
put it
that's
back.
why I was thinking. So in the long run, it's probably more cost effective if possible to use a sucker than it is to grind.
Yes.
And I had one more question. In my neighborhood, section of the sidewalks were removed and kind of like an asphalty, spongy material was put in instead. How is that weathering? I have to say it's more comfortable to walk on. I can tell immediately when I leave the sidewalk and I step onto that because it reminds me almost like a splash pad type thing. But how durable are those? How long do they last before they have to be replaced? Do you know?
I don't know as far as the longevity in that particular section. That was kind of a pilot program. A couple of us were at a conference and we saw a demonstration on that. And one of the selling points is if there are roots that show up under that, it's more flexible than the rigid concrete. So it doesn't create that trip hazard right away. Now, the problem that we ran into is it's extremely expensive. But that one section has held up very well. We've kept a close eye on it.
So a reason why we did that in that section, the alternative was we were gonna have to cut down all those trees and replace them all because of the root systems, whereas with that system, if the roots start coming back up in that soft spongy stuff, we can just replace that section, shave that root down and not have to take those trees out that have been growing for
25 years?
exactly. Yeah, I did not want to be the mayor to take down those trees.
Now, when it comes to
Yeah.
new neighborhoods and new homes, I know part of code is trees. Have we narrowed down what trees maybe have a deeper root system so we don't run into this in the future? Or is there much code dictating what types of streets or trees can go near those sidewalks?
I know Kim and her team right now are working on updating the EDS. And I would like to be a part of that discussion to suggest that maybe we do spec out trees, to your point, that go down as opposed to out. And to make sure that we do call out that depending on the type of tree, that we install some sort of root barrier in there to help mitigate any root damage, depending on the type of tree that they install.
We did that technique on the 91st project, the 91st sidewalk projects. We did that where there's sleeve down in there.
So that's all I have. Is there any other questions?
Can you use it on pervious concrete?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you use the sucker on pervious concrete?
We have not run into that scenario yet. I don't see why we couldn't. But again, I guess it would all depend on how old and how filled in it is. I mean, if it's a newer sidewalk, it'd probably be a little more difficult to actually get the suction. But I think it's strong enough that we could do it.
So how many total work orders are pending and how are those prioritized?
I don't have the total number at this moment, but I can get that for you. How they're prioritized is basically how severe the lip is.
So 6 inches considered severe?
That would be something that we would want, that would be on the top of our list, yes. I mean, anything a 1/4 inch or above is technically considered a trip hazard. But yes, 6 inches would be a severe one that we would want to address.
The best thing people can do on that is citizen view those things so that we can triage them, see how bad they are. If they're not too bad, then they go into that overall contract that we do and the contractor just knocks them all out at one time in the city.
So would Citizen View then be a place if you're out walking and you see a tripping hazard?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
The mayor has done that himself. Thank you.
I have a 4-year-old run it.
I want to see the sidewalk sucker in person, and I'm sure your boys do.
Hmm.
They would love to see that.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
We can make that happen.
Yes.
So I guess-
I saw it one day. I was wondering what the heck they were doing. I got this, it's just lifted up in the air. I go, what are they doing with that?
So Curtis, I guess for me, I think it's our responsibility as a city and not so as citizens. I mean, so what I was hoping for, just like with the roads, is that we have an analysis saying, hey, we've done all 137 miles and we know that we have X number of issues and these are the severity of them. And so to me, you know, when we have that information, you know, then we can accurately assess like how to address it, just like we've done with the roads.
Yep.
And so it seems like the responsible thing to do is for us to do that, because I'd hate to have on my walk yesterday, I mean, there's literally a section this much. Well, half of it's got an asphalt, someone jerry-rigged asphalt. Well, it's 3 more inches on top of that. And if someone trips on that in our sidewalk, it's been there for a long time. I would think that there would be some responsibility the city would bear for that. And so if we can just at least demonstrate that we are tracking and monitoring that, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Are we still looking at getting the cameras you put on trash vehicles and stuff? And some of them survey the road, some of them do the sidewalks. So we looked at that any further?
You know, that technology is really changing.
Yeah.
It's a thing we can do. I don't know if it's the thing we should do. The technology on that's, you can now actually do a lot of that from a satellite.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
So there's just a lot of technology changes that are going on and I'm not sure exactly where we should go with it yet.
Thank you for that
You're welcome.
information.
All right. Any other questions?
Does everyone have their brackets filled out?
No, for the, are we talking March Madness?
March Madness.
Oh, I thought, okay, no.
Any other questions related to city business? All right, hearing none. Thank you for that presentation.